Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. Hamtramck is home to fewer than 30,000 people, but the city's energy feels so much bigger. The diverse town packs a lot into just a few blocks. Creative artistic spaces, various mosques and churches, great bars and restaurants. Next week, the city will attract some additional attention as residents prepare to elect a new mayor. That's because the outgoing mayor, Amir Ghalib, was picked to be the Kuwait ambassador. We should note that the Senate confirmation is stalling because of a positive remark Mayor Ghalib made about Saddam Hussein, liking a social media post comparing Jews to monkeys, and for his refusal to condemn Hamas's attacks on Israeli civilians. Still, in Hamtramck, residents have a choice of who they want to be the next mayor. Two candidates and a write-in are vying for the spot. To discuss that race now, WDET reporter Nargis Rahman joins me. Nargis, welcome back.
Thank you.
So Adam Alharbi is an engineer for the Department of Commerce. He won the primary by about, 1,000 votes? Who is he and why is he running?
So Adam Alharbi has served as Amir Ghalib's campaign manager in his last bid for mayor, but he's also running because he says he loves the city and he represents everyone in the city. And right now he sees that there's an opportunity to unify people.
We have potential to make our city better. We have potential to make it look nice and attract visitors and businesses and improve our city. Also, I'm looking to unify, the communities. I want to show that we can be united and we're the world in 2 square miles. We can be an example to other cities throughout the nation.
So one of the things he told me is that he's lived in Hamtramck pretty much all his life, and he's very proud of being someone who understands the nuances of growing up in Hamtramck. He's also part of the Downtown Development Authority. He wants to be able to help businesses in Hamtramck have, ease up on the business permits and make the city really look nice. He's had some experience before as being a part of the Hamtramck Zoning Board of Appeals, and he's also served as the vice president of the Yemeni American Leadership Association. So one of the things he believes he can do as a candidate is unify people based on the things that they want in terms of, helping look at the deteriorating infrastructure and also building out these business spaces. So the thing that stood out to me about that is he wants to improve the Banglatown area on the Hamtramck side. And he also wants to create a Yemen town, which there has been discussions about that in the past, just bringing in, he wants people to be able to stop in Hamtramck, shop there, and feel like there's a little bit of sense of home in that city, but also make a world town on Joseph Ocampo, which is the main street, which is being built up right now by the DDA there. And he thinks that this is the opportunity to create some positive energy in the city and bring people together.
So he's really trying to show his Hamtramck roots, his community connections, how he acknowledges the diversity throughout the city. Meanwhile, City Council member Muhith Mahmood came in second during the primary. And we should say, though, that he's under an investigation for not living in Hamtramck. So who is Mahmood and what is he running on?
So in 2021, he had run for city council, and essentially he wasn't elected then. He didn't have enough votes. But when another city council member resigned, he was sworn in because he was the next vote getter. And at that time, there was some discussion about his residency, but he had essentially moved to Hamtramck in 2021 to be able to run for city council. And right now, while he's under investigation, I would note that the city council voted that to keep him in city council, and he's a part of the city council right now. However, he thinks that this is a lot of noise around his residency, and he's been able to prove that he's living there. And this is what he had to say about why he's running.
Most people are newcomers, and they are the one need more help. As an immigrant, I understand and I have these feelings, and I went through this struggle when I came over to this country, and I don't want them to face the same struggle. If I can be helpful for them for a little bit, I think this is a great achievement for me, and I hope they'll get appreciated.
Some of his qualifications are that he served as a sergeant at arms at Unite Here Local 24, which represents hospitality workers. He's also served as the Democratic Party's 13th District Vice Chair and the president of the Michigan Bangladeshi American Democratic Caucus. So he is saying that he has a lot of experience working in the community from different perspectives, and he's really there to serve people. One of the things he does besides, politics is that he has this charity organization called Gulab Gunj Helping Hand USA. So he feels like he's somebody who relates to the struggle of the newer immigrants in the community, but also wants to be able to help people come up from their struggles.
Okay, I can imagine that would be a resonant message. Has Adam Alharbi's attacks on Mahmood's campaign been because of the investigation that's on him, I'm wondering?
So Adam Alharbi hasn't outright said anything about the investigation against Mahmood per se. However, he does make a point to say that he does live in Hamtramck, and he likes to kind of play on that a little bit. But he also says that he's against any kind of election fraud. And he believes that there's more to it in terms of why this fraud is happening. So on one end, he believes that elected officials absolutely should not be engaging in any kind of election fraud. However, he also thinks that there is some misinformation and there's common misconceptions that are happening on the other side in terms of voters. So what happens essentially is that there are newer immigrants coming who might not be familiar with many of the voter election rules and regulations. And the way he explained it was if an elected official is coming to a voter essentially, and that person is not aware of some of the rules of like being able, not presenting an election ballot to them, they might think that they're not listening to an elected official. They're not understanding that this is actually illegal. So he thinks that it's up to elected officials to educate the community about these things. And one of the things he says needs to be done is just being able to inform them through informational videos, because a lot of people don't, read these election laws or wouldn't know them commonly. So it's up to people to inform the voters. And he's not blaming the voters for that. He's saying that this is something that is continuously happening, and this is one aspect or nuance of that.
Okay. And so he has talked about how it is the influencers that speak the language that are really able to connect with community members. And that is something, I mean, how do you change that?
So the point is, one of the nuances in Hamtramck is that a lot of people do not read and write in their languages, but also do not write and read fluently in English. Yeah. So the problem is that sometimes when there are translated information that is put out in Bangla or in Arabic, it's not in the right dialect. It's not conversational. It's not digestible. Mm-hmm. So what Adam is speaking to is having people who speak those languages kind of make videos or like encourage people to know this information. And his campaign has been putting out these kind of informational, I would say I've seen them in printed versions like flyers, but also just making a point of saying, make sure you're not giving your ballots to anybody that's running for an office.
Now, there's also a write-in candidate, Lynn Blasey, who's run for city council twice and has lost. What do you know about her run?
So Lynn is someone who's very involved in the community. She's been around since she said she moved in Hamtramck around 2012, and she's running for office because the community essentially asked her to.
When some community members approached me, it was really asking me to be a voice or a viable choice that residents can feel more comfortable about.
What she says is that the image of Hamtramck is at stake, and a lot of people don't feel like they can back up someone who's under investigation as mayor candidate, but also are not really sure about Adam Alharbi and what he's bringing to the table. So, Lynn essentially wants to be able to be a part of that narrative of changing the image of Hamtramck and promoting more positive coverage, but also highlighting the good that people are doing in the city. And although she's lost at her bids for city council before, she's very involved in the community. For example, she's a part of the Hamtramck Arts and Culture Commission. She's the vice chair for that. She's also been a part of efforts for the Hamtramck Area Disaster Recovery Group during the FEMA floods. She's mentioned that she also was a part of the Yementown conversations that happened earlier when other city council members in the past had brought up bringing these culturally diverse, culturally relevant business hubs into the city. So she is well aware of some of the different nuances, and she's also worked at the Arab American Museum. So she has a good, cultural variety of experiences even within herself. She, says that she's disappointed by the recent election fraud in the city, and she wants to be able to hold people accountable by just showing that by running a clean campaign on her end, that it degrades the system by cheating and having election fraud. And she wants to be able to also leverage other parts of the community that she feels are just kind of not represented as much, or connecting the dots, for example, with the Hamtramck arts community that lives in Hamtramck. And if you're in Hamtramck ever, you'll see that there's this huge immigrant community, but there's also this vibrant arts community. And sometimes there isn't a lot of communication between those two things, and there isn't a lot of leverage of how do we build off of this in an economic way. And she wants to be someone who brings those kind of people together and has those conversations.
This is The Metro on WDET. I'm Robin Vincent. My guest is WDET reporter Nargis Rahman. We're talking about the Hamtramck mayoral race. Now, there's been more of a spotlight on Hamtramck politics because of alleged corruption or inappropriate behavior. 2 city council members were charged with felonies and a misdemeanor that included forging signatures on an absentee ballot. The police chief resigned after demonstrating inappropriate behavior. The city manager was fired by city council members for not having held the police chief accountable. One of the mayoral candidates is under investigation, as we mentioned. I'm wondering, Nargis, how has the issue of anti-corruption and reforming inappropriate political behavior found its way into any of these campaigns?
So as I mentioned, all of the candidates are saying, don't do it. Don't engage in this corruption. But they're also trying to focus on what's next, and that's really building unity within the city. Candidates are talking about educating voters and getting them on par with what's acceptable, what's not. I guess we can note that so far as we know, none of the candidates that are running have been accused of this kind of forging signatures or not. They're not the candidates that are mentioned for the city council races. And in terms of, how it's showing up, people are trying to really focus on what's next and bringing people together. The message of unity is a lot louder in their campaigns than talking about what's happened in the past. And I think voters also seem to be reflecting that that's not where their focus should be. Like, they really want to move forward with the conversations and not stay stuck in the past. And a lot has happened this summer. I think there was just so many things that were changing in the city. And I think that it does play a role in who's the next mayor. How is the next mayor going to move the city forward?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about things that are changing, I think about changing dynamics with ethnicity in the city of Hamtramck. And Alharbi is Yemeni and Mahmood is Bengali. People from outside Hamtramck may just assume that folks will vote on someone for someone based on their ethnicity. When you talk with people, what are the things they're thinking about before casting a vote?
So one of the things they kept saying was, there's so much to digest in terms of the chaos that they can't even wrap their minds around that. And others have said that they're not trying to focus their energy on what's happened over the summer, but really, what are the candidates saying that can bring the city forward? They are also saying that there isn't a lot of youth engagement in the city, and there isn't the obvious spaces for youth to lead and come up in leadership. But some more scrutiny should be done on the candidates before they get elected, rather than what we're seeing play out, which is that people are leaving the city, or the city council or the city officials are getting rid of people who they feel like can't lead the city anymore. They feel like the city is spending a lot of money on these investigations, and that's not something that the residents should have to foot the bill for. One of the people I spoke with is Imad Shamak, and he said that young voters are thinking about the elections not from the perspective of ethnicity, but they're really looking at who represents them best. Like, it's not relevant of their background per se, but do they represent the values that people are looking for? And they should vote for people who align with their values and shouldn't look at just ethnicity as one of those things, because cultural awareness is something that can be learned. And for example, if you look at Lynn Blasey, she has different cultural experiences besides just being a candidate that lives in Hamtramck. And she is not from Arab American descent, but she has that experience of working at the Arab American Museum. So she has that cultural awareness. But they also feel disconnected from candidates in terms of, like, Are they coming to us and talking to us about the things that are coming up in city council meetings? Are they hosting town halls? Is there engagement pre-city council meetings? I feel like there's this disconnect between what's happening in the community and what's being talked about in City Hall and of course, in the media. Some of the other people I spoke to is Mumin Chaudhry, who said that it's not enough for a candidate to be a nice guy or a nice girl or a nice person. It really, when there's a problem, they want to be able to call someone and say, hey, I have this problem. How are you going to help me fix it? And I hear that a lot from people, that just because there's a candidate that has a shared background or a shared faith or a shared culture, it doesn't mean that they're doing anything for those communities either.
WDET reporter Nargis Rahman, thank you so much for your reporting and for sharing it with us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is the Metro on WDET. Coming up, the Carr Center has been around for more than 30 years, supporting Black artists in Detroit. Right now on display is a new exhibit taking a look through time. This is the Metro. Stay with us, and this is WDET FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation.